Hi. So I did my interview on Mark Kovacs, who is the general manager of the Cheesecake Factory in downtown Chicago. It's a company that I worked for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, as a line cook. And I wanted to interview Mark, the general manager, because I've always worked under the executive chef, and I wanted that management and front of the house experience, whereas I'm always getting the back of the house and talking to that chef. So Mark started as a dishwasher at the age of 14, and then he did that for 2 years, and at 16 he became a line cook, which is pretty young. I started as a line cook at 18, so I understand that. He did that for 4 years, also working two other jobs for over a year. Just kept going and was in school. At 20 he became a kitchen manager in a smaller restaurant and worked his way up. Then he became a bar manager at 21, which moved him from the back of the house as a cook to the front of the house for the first time, and that's kind of where he remained for the rest of his career up to now. At 23, he became a general manager of another restaurant for 2 years, and then at 24, he moved to the Cheesecake Factory as a regular manager, and he was working under a general manager. So he did that for 5 years, and then he became an assistant general manager, and then he became the actual general manager of the Oak Brook restaurant for 3 years, and then he moved to Chicago 2 years ago, just before I started working there. So he spent a lot of time. He's only 34 years old, and he's been in the industry since he was 14. 20 years is a long time, so most of his life. So some of the things I wanted to know from him were just important issues that general managers face every day, like why is there a need for a human resources department? And he just said that sometimes we need an outside look, someone who can tell us what we're doing wrong based on their own experiences higher up in the level. And he said it was good for staff and management, which makes a lot of sense because sometimes there are issues that a manager can't deal with on their own, and they have to go to human resources for advice because they've dealt with these kinds of things before. So the qualities of a great leader that he said were they were positive, outgoing, professional, and knowledgeable. He really looks for personality when he does hiring. And the hiring process at the Cheesecake Factory used to be potential employees would come in, fill out an application, and then someone would call them. But now they do a little differently. They do it online. So they can fill out an application online. They do a series of questions. There's a psychological test, and they fill out all their basic information, and it's filtered through the website. And then based on what the company's looking for and where they need to fill spaces, they call these people. They do an initial interview with a different manager, and then if that manager approves it, they do a final interview with Mark, the general manager. So he really tries to tell everyone how important communication is within the restaurant. He knows everyone's name. We have over 400 employees at the restaurant, including hosts, bussers, cleaners, dishwashers, line cooks, food runners, and servers, and then about 10 managers front of the house and back of the house. And he does a great job at greeting all of them daily and asking them about things, and he really remembers things that people tell him. So I think that's a quality that people really respect about him. So some of the other things I asked him were challenges and the joys of management, and he said that these things are often the same. So he said it's always different and new, but that can be exciting and also very difficult because he's seeing things every day that he's never seen before. He said that there are a lot of distractions. So because the restaurant's so big, it's unlike any other company. It's corporate. There are over 120 restaurants, and they're opening new ones around the world. There's one opening in India, one opening in Puerto Rico, just all over the place. And he says it's really hard to keep himself focused on things sometimes because he's being pulled so many different ways, which makes a lot of sense because he's only one man running a restaurant that's so large. It makes $18 million a year. It's the second busiest in the company. The first is Hawaii that makes $24 million a year. Another thing I asked him was how his perspective has changed as a manager over time, and if it's become easier or more difficult. And he said that it's become more natural. That he can't really say that it's become easier, but it hasn't become more difficult. He just says that he's more able to share things with people, and he has a better understanding of himself and the way things are run and the company as a whole. So he said one of the major mistakes he made early on in his management career was that he made a lot of assumptions. And I think that's something we do a lot when we don't know, when we haven't been trained in this field. He said there's actually this book that he recommends to everyone. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I'm actually reading it now. And one of the lines is seek first to be understood, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I think that's really important because you should try to get to understand the issues that you're faced with before you try to get other people to understand you. No one can understand you if you don't feel like you're understanding them. And I asked him if he had any personal mottos or philosophies or any advice for someone who's pursuing a management position, as I would like to someday. Maybe not in the front of the house, but I would definitely like to do back of the house management someday, maybe be an executive chef. I work for a company that offers so many things for employees. So he said that if you have no experience, just to read, and he personally doesn't like to read, so he uses a lot of audiobooks, but he recommends them either way. And he says to just keep seeking knowledge and listening to other people and gaining their experiences as much as possible, which I think is wonderful advice for anyone who wants to be in management. You can only learn so much on your own, and then you have to try to take in knowledge from others too. I asked him also how he deals with stress and how others should deal with their own stress, because working in a management position is never easy. There's new struggles all the time, and you're constantly dealing with issues involving other people, among employees or with your own personal life. And I just wanted to know how he copes with those types of things. And he just said that stress is a reality, and you have to remove the emotions and process the information without the emotion. So you have to try to find the best possible way to react to the information given. And he said that what's so important is that you have an external vent. So something outside of work that can balance it out. So he said you need to have that balance between your work life and your personal life. And for himself, he likes to do exercise and spend time with his daughter and do things with his family when he's not at work. And he tries not to bring his work home, which is difficult when you're a manager and you're running such a large, successful corporation. And he also really talks about proper breathing and meditation. The training, the Cheesecake Factory is a really large restaurant. I'm sure a lot of people know where it's at. It's right in the John Hancock, so it's right in the middle of one of the biggest tourist attractions in the city. And we just get all kinds of people there. We're constantly busy. Our slowest weeks are busier than most restaurants. So he does a good job at maintaining his composure. He's always smiling, always happy. Whenever someone needs something, he's on top of it. As far as training goes, for the line cooks, we're each assigned a designated trainer. This goes for the entire restaurant, but line cooks are assigned to a trainer, someone who's been in the restaurant for a long time, who's certified in one or multiple stations. And we have 7 stations on the line. There's a broil station, which is like our grill, and then a flat top, a fry and appetizer station, pasta, saute, salad, and pizza. So once you're hired, you're given your chef coat and your uniform, and you spend an entire day writing recipes down for your given station. And then you get to work on the line and just get familiar with the equipment and the recipes. And then you're given quizzes, actual written quizzes based on sanitation, just basic information and your basic recipes. And then you have to perform these recipes for a manager and submit something. It could be anything on your station. They could tell you to make something as simple as like an order of sliders, or something more difficult like a pasta dish. Just really based on where you're at as far as your experiences and things. And training is usually about 5 to 10 days. And then front of the house, they have their own methods. Like the hosts have to learn the restaurant within their first couple shifts, and they do tours and they greet people. And then later they learn how to fill and use computer systems. And the food runners and servers have to go through a server class, so they have to learn to identify everything on the menu, which is over 350 items, and it grows every year. Twice a year we have new menu rollouts where they add I've seen up to 10, 15 things added on the menu. Yeah, well, I guess that's really it. That's basic training, basic information. It was actually great learning so much about the front of the house part of this and management, and just all that more exciting to becoming a manager one day. Thank you.